returning subscribers, the new ones. If you just recently subscribed, shout you out. By the way, my name is Versatile, aka I Can Be on Trust, a name you can trust when it comes to all things reactions. You already see the title. You already know what time it is. Do you know what I mean? We ain't gonna delay the settings. Yeah. Janet Jackson, no sign. What we saying? Oh, she knew. Do you know what I mean? Janet Jackson knew. All right then. Who knew? But we're gonna find out what she knew, and how she knew. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes you may know something, or you have an intuition about something. Yeah, instincts. Yeah. But anyway, let's get straight into it. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notifications. Get me? You can see that I'm being consistent now. Yeah, I'm being consistent. So yeah, let's go. So impressive, or yeah, impressive. Like, I think that's such a clever way for a name of a child. I can't even lie to you still. Here we go. Janet Jackson thinks Diddy faked his grief over Biggie's. You know what I'm saying? We'll just react to that part. The whole Love Island thing. Get me? We're gonna continue on to the whole Diddy situation. All right. But anyway, let's go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Empressive Channel. Did you all know that Janet Jackson tried to avoid P. Diddy like a plague because she did not trust him? And for good reason. Now, I'm sure you all have seen P. Diddy's docuseries on Netflix called Sean Combs' The Reckoning.
By the way, also, if you're a Janet Jackson fan, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notification, because I will have more Janet Jackson content on the way. Yeah. And also, I will react to her documentary as well, because I don't think she got enough attention for that documentary. Do you know what I mean? So I will react to that. But also, other than that, do you know what I mean? Because of how iconic she is and iconic family she comes from as well, I will react to another documentary, which is An American Dream, The Jacksons. Do you know what I mean? So I'll react to that documentary. But other than that, I will react to their music as well. So just stay tuned for that. Yeah. But let's keep it moving. Let's go.
Docuseries was wild, and it was interesting how they went into detail of his alleged involvement in Tupac and Biggie's deaths. In fact, it was said that P. Diddy was jealous of Tupac. He was also threatened by Pac's friendship with his artist Biggie Smalls. And Tupac always believed that Diddy orchestrated him getting ambushed and shot up at the Quad Studios that night, where he was coincidentally about to meet up with Biggie.
So, do you think Puffy was involved?
Wait. We'll react to this later. No, not later today, but another time. The full interview. But like, he wasn't there to meet Biggie. Yeah, that's like we said this before. He wasn't there to meet Biggie. He was there to meet Little Sean. He had no business going to that studio. Do you know what I mean? Because he was in New York to film a movie in the first place. Like, he was literally in New York to film a movie. But it just so happened that, you know, he had connections with Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman, although he was a street ninja, but also anyway, we won't get to that right now. That's for another day, for another topic. But like, he also was a friend of Haitian Jack. Do you know what I mean? Haitian Jack was also in a situation where, yeah. In fact, it's like I'm tearing up. It's like I'm going out of point, but I'm not, because everything kind of makes sense. It's like everyone has their own motives. You understand what I'm trying to say? Haitian Jack has his motive because some may seem it as it was a disrespect that Tupac did what he did. You know that scene, that moment when Tupac he literally mentions, yeah, that he's not guilty of the crimes that he's been accused of. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? And he's mentioned that the lawyers and everything is separated. He mentioned that. But anyway, so that's that. So obviously Haitian Jack would be upset, and not, well, yeah, of course he'll be upset and his feelings, and he's got his motive, yeah. And then Diddy has his motive because he's jealous, yeah. Then you have and these guys are friends. Diddy, Diddy, Haitian Jack, and Jimmy Henchman. Jimmy Henchman happens to be Little Sean's manager. Tupac needed money, yeah, because of the legal things he was going through, right? Like, let's make this make sense. He would like Jimmy Henchman was there to pay him. So was, I think, also Andre Harrell or something like that. Or no, I can't remember who it was. I know. Look, Jimmy Henchman was meant to pay him, because I remember when he was robbed or whatever the case may be, like, and hit like 5 times, like with those wounds, he rolled up a blunt and he asked, "Where's my money?" Anyway, let's keep it moving. Ironically, he said it to Vibe magazine, but not in this thing. But he literally said it in the actual magazine. Let's go.
Only they can answer that question. I believe so. I do believe so. I have proof, things that I can say that will back up my claim.
Tupac getting shot was the catalyst to his infamous feud with Diddy and Biggie, which really intensified when they dropped diss tracks against each other, and Tupac signed with Suge Knight at Death Row Records, and it really started this whole East Coast, West Coast beef. And Diddy hired Crips to basically take out Tupac and Suge. Like, he allegedly put $1 million bounty on their head, and Tupac did end up getting gunned down and killed by some Crips. And 6 months later, Biggie Smalls was killed, and the only reason why Biggie was killed is because...
Time out. We can't say, although Keefy D has been arrested and he's awaiting trial as we speak on the 14th of December 2025, because you could watch it in the near future, and he's probably being convicted, or we don't know, right? However, let's just say this. Yes, he is affiliated with the Crips, but you also have to bear in mind, yeah, like, what people are not. I don't think most people are aware of this. This is why I want to react to these type of situations, so people can actually see what's really going on and ask the questions. Because for one, for another word is Biggie's mom, she literally says, and I will react to that documentary another time. In another documentary, she literally said that the FBI was watching them. Yeah, in 93. Yeah, 93 was the year that Tupac and Biggie became friends. I believe it was that year. I can't remember verbatim, but, or maybe it was 94. No, maybe it was 94. Maybe it was 94. But anyway, we'll get into that for another time in regards to the actual proper timeline. But the FBI was watching them. Then you got the thing where the FBI are naturally going to be watching Tupac. Why? Because his mom and his stepfather and also his biological father are in the Black Panther Party. Do you know what I mean? And the FBI was created to be able to nullify those groups in the first place. That's how they were started. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I'm not gonna, like, you know that saying. I forgot his name. J. Edgar Hoover. He had the saying. Yeah. He said, "You'll never have a black messiah unless we create them," or something mad like that. It's mad. I don't want to get political in it, but I'm just saying what I'm saying in it, like, because there's, like, why would he like, there's a book being released by someone, I can't remember his name, but we'll get into that for another time. Again. Anyway, let's keep it moving. But it's like they were watching them until their untimely situation. So those who were watching Biggie and Tupac, they know the answers. They know the answer, and they know how to solve their cases. Let's be real. It's either they were watching them or they wasn't.
Diddy forced him to go to the West Coast, knowing how dangerous it was. So essentially, Diddy led Biggie to his own death. But he put on this big show, like, he was so sad. He put on this huge funeral for him, which he allegedly had Biggie pay for. Yeah, he also did a whole tribute to him at the MTV Awards, just shucking and jiving. Literally, he was just doing a lot. And Janet Jackson wasn't buying any of it.
Good. Well, what do you think about the fact that Puffy Combs seems to have merged from all of this murder as the producer of the day? Puff Daddy seems to have become the...
Hold on. We're going to pause it just for a slight minute, yeah? Or a few seconds. Janet Jackson, yeah? This was in 1997. 1997. It says here, Janet Jackson father broke conference call, yeah? I want to get the exact date if it's possible. Janet Jackson, Velvet Rope conference call interview day. All right, so it's conducted around either the fall of the fall of 1997. Yeah. So it could have been September, it could have been October, it could have been November, it could have been around those times. All right. So I need you to understand that. I need you to understand what that means. Yeah. What that means, because timing is everything. The fact that this was done in 1997, Biggie untimely situation was on March 9th, 1997. Timing. Let's go.
The record producer of the day. Yeah, it seems like he has a new video every week. Yeah, and you just kind of wonder because, I mean, he's like, one of the ones left after all of this murder that's gone on in the gangster rap community. Sometimes I wonder. I was very cynical in the beginning, I must say. I would sit back and say, okay, how much pain is he really in? It seems like he's taken this and ran with it. Like the death of Biggie. And there's a part of me that wondered if it was really real. You know what I mean?
Because the videos seem to come out so quick. And
it's like he's throwing them out one after the other. Being the sort of cynic that I can be, I wondered, and I'm sure like a lot of other people have wondered, and only he knows that, and God within his own heart. You know what I mean? I hope it is real.
Deep. Listen to how she's actually talking. Like, people need to understand there. Like, it's the fact that when you watch that documentary, The Reckoning, yeah, that's essentially what was being said. It was being said, the tragedy that happened in 1991 with the City College incident, Diddy became famous then, yeah? And then the tragedy to do with, then Biggie's tragedy in 1997. And then he became famous again after the club incident in 1999. Do you understand? Now, it's such a mad situation to think, yeah? Because it's like, raw. What now? Now that he's in this situation, does he become even more famous? Or does it get to the point where he now has to, because now he's obviously sitting and enjoying it. So he has to live with the thoughts and everything that he's done and said to people, you know what I mean? And mistreated people and whatever the case may be. Get me? I'm not saying he's done all evil, but like, he has to live with that. And obviously, if he was on narcotics for after a while, now he has to be sober. But anyway, I won't talk too much. Let's go.
And not using that to elevate himself.
Well, Diddy did use Biggie's death to elevate himself. He destiny swapped with him, basically. After Biggie's death, he went from being in the background to being in the forefront, and he was working with everybody. Everybody wanted to work with him except Janet Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So every interview, Janet Jackson, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis need to get up off a track. Throw a brother a track or something. No, I won't get in the studio with Janet. But I mentioned her name, and she didn't want to work with me. She ain't want none of the hits.
She didn't want of the hits.
So
She's been making hits since the mid '80s. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, she's been making hits since the mid '80s. It's you that needs her, not the other way around. Like, you know what's mad, yeah? It's like sometimes you gotta know your position. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, anyway, let's keep it moving.
I gotta move on.
Yeah. Not that he's bragging, but I do hear he keeps, and he has asked me a few times. I don't know if it ever will happen. I'm probably the only one who hasn't worked with him.
It was just a dream, a fantasy for me to one day work with Janet Jackson. Now I don't want to do it.
Yeah, now you don't want to do it.
Now, one thing
because
about
she didn't want to do it. You have to come to that realization.
Diddy is he's very persistent. He did not give up on trying to be around Janet Jackson in some way. He did eventually work with her on the remix to her song Son of a Gun, and they did rub shoulders in the industry a few times, but Janet still limited his access to her.
Are you in touch with Janet?
Oh, no.
No.
No, but I mean, I know her.
Right.
I just never got a number for us to keep in touch.
Got it.
When Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy hit the news, Janet Jackson quickly deleted her photo she had with Diddy to show where she stood. Now, moving on, I want to talk about some updates.
All right, listen. So obviously, see how the inkling that, come on now, is that you use his untimely situation to propel yourself. So she called it. Now she obviously still ended up working with him in the later on. Sadly, I don't want to say sadly, but like, yeah, do you know what I mean? You know how it is in the industry. Like sometimes is what it is. Hold on, let me see something real quick. I'm gonna see. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. I never want to hear about another combs again. Not tooth combs, hair combs, nothing. I allow it, man. That's funny though. He definitely got them. Yeah. If Janet say you crooked, you is crooked. Okay, crooked. It is good to know that Janet Jackson had an inkling Jackson questioned back then, and I do wonder if she and others. I do wonder if others back then had a similar feeling. Because at that time, you can all you do, and now clearly it is evident. Like, because you do wonder, like, how many people or people within the industry, how many had that feeling? And did you have that feeling? Leave your answer in the comment section below. Because for me, I was too young to even know at that time, and I won't even lie to you still. But it's mad. It's mad. It's mad. And the fact that she was able to keep her distance for a number of years, like when I say a number of years, because Son of a Gun remix was in, I think, so was that 2002, if that? Like she was able to keep her distance. So speaking of that, yeah, if you go to the link in the comments below, give me a second, let me just get the name of the book properly. If you go to the link in the comments below, there is a book that I recommend that you go purchase, yeah, which is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, yeah, which is a guide to reclaiming yourself. That's a perfect example, yeah. That's how Janet Jackson is able to maintain and be in control. Yeah. Notice that, yeah, he literally said he don't have a number. Now, well, he could be lying. You never know. But at the same time, it is what it is. All right. So anyway, the link to that's going to be in the pinned comments. I recommend you go purchase that book. Yes, I do get paid a small commission. As a disclaimer, I have to mention that. But let's move on to the next thing. As usual, actually, no, let me subscribe to Empressive Channel first. I'll subscribe to it on my other channel, but not this one. Anyway, Tisa Tells. We'll get into the Clive Davis one another day, though. You know what I'm saying? In fact, we'll get partly into the Clive Davis situation later on in the stream, but for now, let's get it. All right, make sure you turn on the post notifications if you haven't already. Make sure you like, subscribe. You know what I mean? Leave a comment in the comment section. Make sure you, importantly, share as well. Yeah? Please, by all means, make sure you share. But yeah, man. All right, so we're here. Diddy's last industry insiders say the door is closed. Is it? Let's see.
Y'all, Diddy is shopping a jailhouse book. And guess what? Nobody wants it. Sources are saying he's worried that Netflix blacklisted him from the industry. Sir, blacklisted you from what? Who the heck is reading your book? Y'all, let's get into this. Let's just start.
Blacklisted. The irony, because didn't Capricorn Clark in her testimony, and I think someone else in the testimony said something quite similar, where they felt had they left, they would have been blacklisted from the music industry because of the connection Diddy has. And it's mad. I want to hear. I want to know what Wendy Williams has to say. I really do, because she is one of. She called out Diddy years ago, to the point where she got fired from radio. Obviously, her career pivoted into having a TV career as well, where she was a host and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Where she has that famous catchphrase like, "How you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, get me? She ain't Joey out here, but she's Wendy Williams. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. That's probably where, in fact, that's probably where Joey got it from. If you know, you know. Let's be real. But anyway, or maybe the timeline might be a bit off, but who knows? I don't care. Well, I do care. Timeline matters. But it's just a twisted irony. He feels like he's blacklisted. Anyway.
Here, okay? Because this is one of those moments where the embarrassment speaks louder than the headline. Sources are saying that Sean Diddy Combs, currently sitting in jail, locked out the industry, iced out of the culture, and radioactive to touch, is shopping a book deal from jail. Let that marinate. Not a memoir announced at the height of power. Not a carefully ghost-written legacy book when the industry still feared him. But a jailhouse manuscript being quietly floated to publishers who are reportedly saying, absolutely not on my time. And insiders are saying the quiet part out loud now. There are no takers for that book. There's no.
This is interesting. I think what he's doing here, or what he's trying to do, is counter the season 2. Think about it. Just think about this for a moment. He's trying to counter to season 2. And this is reminding me of listen, if you're a Drake fan, listen, it is what it is, yeah. But I'm going to use this comparison, all right? And I really just tell you, Drake is the same as Diddy, so it is what it is. All right. He literally is like everything he does is an L. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And it's the same thing with Drake. Everything he does now is an L. Now, maybe that's perception. I don't know. But also, bearing in mind, in the beef between Kendrick and Drake, Kendrick said, "You're not as calculated." What's it? He said, "I can even predict your angle." I feel that's the same thing with 50 is more calculated than Diddy. And I could be wrong. Because, again, yeah, we can argue and be like, yeah, Diddy 50 is being is more is petty and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't care about the victim, blah, blah, blah. One could argue that, but can't argue with the success of the documentary. Can't argue with the fact that it's exposed him a lot to the point, exposed Diddy a lot to the point where it's also exposed others a lot. Because I've mentioned this before. It's not just Diddy. Yeah, there are enablers. I don't care. It can never just be just one person. There are enablers. From the days of him being at Howard University, they enabled his behavior. All right, cool. I get it. Before then, when he was living with his mom, she enabled his behavior. Cool. Well, not I won't say cool, but like I can somewhat understand it to a degree. But once you go out into the world, you go out into society, and other people in society start to accept that behavior, and then they feel that there's no consequence to those actions. Of course, he's going to feel confident and bold to be able to be like, well, I'm going to get away with this because there's nothing no one can do me. There was a scene in Power, I think it was the last season, yeah? And this is so ironic, yeah? And I say so ironic. In fact, I won't even do that because I'm now thinking that could backfire what I want to say. But long story short, yeah, never be overconfident, you know what I'm saying, about certain situations. But let's go.
Appetite. There's no patience. There's no benefit. Which is how you know this isn't about telling his truth. To me, this is about Diddy's and his issues with control. This is about Diddy and allegedly his issues with money. And this is about a man who has finally run out of levers to pull. Now, listen, I know some of y'all being like, Tisa, stop it. Stop being so cruel to Diddy. No. Because this is desperate, not powerful. Let's be very clear. Powerful people do not need to announce in all hip hop. No shade to all hip hop. They know a lot. They're really good. But they do not announce that they are shopping around a memoir. If Diddy was really in high demand, they would have rushed to him, all the publishing houses, to see if he was interested in doing a memoir.
Facts.
Powerful people don't have to beg publishers to hear them out. They don't have to float rumors to blogs to test the waters. And they don't have to leak that a book is coming like it's a threat. This looks desperate because it is desperate. According to industry chatter, Diddy's camp has been quietly shopping the idea of a book deal. And what they're running into is something he's not used to. Silence, disinterest, closed doors. And insiders are saying this isn't even about fear. It's about liability. Publishers don't want the legal smoke. They don't want the reputational stain. And they don't want to be subpoena adjacent. Because this isn't 2005 anymore. This isn't bad boy worldwide dominance. This is post-Netflix, post-lawsuits, post-everyone is watching. Diddy talking about he telling his story. Really? Or are you just trying to control the record? Now listen, every time a powerful man collapses, suddenly there's a book. And the framing is always the same. I just want to tell my side. I need to correct the narrative. History is being unfair.
And this is the thing. If he wanted to really tell his story, then what he really should have done is in his trial, that was his moment to literally tell his truth. Except he decided to be silent. Or maybe his legal team decided for him to be silent. But seeing how he moves, you could tell it was his decision to be silent. Yeah. And I feel like he's acting desperate. If this is true, where he's actually he's shopping a book around, it's essentially what I'm saying. He's trying to counter season 2. That's what it is. Because it's like one could argue and be like, yeah, well, because that $1 billion lawsuit. If it was possible for him to win that, he wouldn't be shopping around the book. He wouldn't. Because cease and desist, lawsuit, do you know what I mean? Defamation lawsuit. And if he can prove that what's been said, they've been lying, and he wins that lawsuit, yeah, you don't need to sell a book. You don't have to sell a book. You can just say, look, when I come out, I will show my truth. I've won this case. I will show you my truth. That's if y'all want to hear it. But the reality is, Alexandra Stapleton, aside from 50 Cent mentioning, yeah, got it legally, whatever, Alexandra Stapleton and also Netflix have said they obtained the footage legally. And not only that, even within the documentary, the footage that they did manage to show, it clearly shows him being very manipulative and very controlling, to the point where he's trying to control and manipulate a narrative. And there's also witness tampering. So even if there was to be a cease and desist, I still feel like another indictment is coming, because witness tampering is a crime. But let's keep it moving.
But people in the industry are saying this isn't about reflection. It's about wrestling back control of the narrative before the courts, the documentaries, and the public fully lock him in. Because right now, Diddy does not have control of the story. Netflix doesn't need him. Documentaries don't need his cooperation. Former associates are talking anyway. And the silence is no longer protecting him. So a book becomes the last remaining megaphone, even if no one is listening. True. And then there's the money problems. Let's talk about the part that people keep dancing around. Money. Because sources are saying this book push isn't just emotional, it's financial. Legal defense isn't cheap. Asset freezes are real. Business partners don't want to touch him. Brand equity has evaporated. And here's the brutal truth. When your name becomes a risk, the checks stop clearing. This book isn't about legacy, it's about liquidity, which is why insiders say that even if it gets published, and I still think it's going to be self-published, it's likely going to be, again, self-published. And that right there, that's the real tell.
But then even if it is self-published, yeah, let's be real, there's going to be some people out there that are still willing to buy it. Yeah, let's just be completely honest. And even if people do buy it, obviously he's trying to shape his own narrative. We know what time it is, and I feel like this is a very telling thing. But like I said, it feels like he's trying to counter the situation. Like I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. So speaking of books, yeah. Speaking of books, yeah, what I do recommend, which book you should get, is the one in the pinned comments, yeah, which is, I gotta read out the name of it, yeah, because it's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, yeah, a guide to reclaiming yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab, yeah. So I recommend you go buy that, yeah, for obvious reasons, yeah, not like. For obvious reasons. I mean, it looks like Diddy needs to buy that himself at this rate. Because he needs to know that there's boundaries. Ain't nobody want to hear your ish. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nah, but anyway, listen. Let's keep it moving though.
Again, self-publishing for someone of Diddy's form or stature, it's not a flex. Let's be honest, self-publishing is fine when you choose it. It's not the flex when it's your only option. Industry insiders are saying publishers want no part of this, not because they don't like money, but because this is uninsurable. You can't fact check around pending cases. You can't edit around potential omissions. And you definitely don't want a platform that will narrative that could unravel under oath. So if this book exists, it exists in isolation. No press tour, no mainstream rollout, no institutional backing, just a man talking to himself, hoping the public mistakes volume for credibility. And to make matters worse, y'all, the streets are saying Netflix is done. And Diddy knows it. Here's another piece insiders keep pointing out. Netflix is done with Diddy, done with his legacy, done with his family. Netflix has high high tentacles in Hollywood and beyond.
Of his family, not
Acting,
wait. I feel bad for his kids. Well, not Christian or Peasant Combs, and definitely not Justin. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel bad for Quincy. I won't lie to you, but I also feel, well, technically that's his stepson, isn't it? But I feel bad for his girls there, his daughters. Is it Chance, and then you got the twins. Like, I feel bad for them because it's like, and obviously you got another young baby as well, I believe, a young daughter. So it's like when you put that all into perspective, it's like he really needs to focus on accountability, redemption, yeah, like forgiveness from God first and foremost. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, at the end of the day, if his time is coming for witness tampering, then his time is coming for that. If his time is coming for the situations regarding Tupac, Biggie, Shakir Stewart, Kim Porter, Heavy D, look at the names I'm reading off. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And hey, listen, we'll get into that much later on, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Let's keep it moving. Let's go.
Music ownership, baby, they better go back to Snapchat, but come here to YouTube. Netflix is done. Not taking a break, not waiting it out, done. And people are saying Diddy knows the cultural window is closed. There is no redemption arc queued up. There's no glossy comeback documentary. There is no exclusive sit down, which is why this book feels like a panic move. Because once the industry stops calling, once the platforms stop negotiating, all that's left is shouting into the void. And let's not forget, even Diddy's lawyers are annoyed. This part matters. Sources are saying that even his lawyers aren't thrilled about this idea, because writing a book while your legal situation is unresolved is, let's just say, it's not strategic. Every sentence becomes discoverable. Every claim becomes a potential contradiction. Every attempt to rewrite history becomes a liability. And the fact that this is even being floated tells you something important. The usual adults in the room no longer have control. Baby, the world has moved on. Here's the coldest part. People have already made up their minds. You know I have. There's no curiosity left. Listen, Sean Combs' The Reckoning on Netflix, baby, it did what needed to be done. There's no curiosity left. There's no suspense, no hunger for his perspective. The public isn't asking what really happened. They're saying, we've seen enough. Which is why this book doesn't feel revealing. It feels late. The rooster has come home to roost, and it's not bringing receipts, it's bringing consequences. So let me just say this clearly. This book isn't power, it isn't courage, it isn't truth-telling. This is Diddy, a man who burned every bridge, now realizing bridges don't rebuild themselves just because you talk loud enough. Self-publishing or not, print or not, this isn't a comeback. It's not going to help a comeback. It's an admission that control is gone. The industry is done. The era is over. But that's just what the people are saying. What do you think? I mean, I think this book isn't a confession. It's a tantrum in paperback, because powerful men don't have to self-publish from jail. They don't have to float rumors like trial balloons. They don't have to whisper a book is coming the other way people whisper apologies. You guys, this isn't a memoir. This is a control manual nobody ordered. The industry already read him to filth. The public already clocked him. Netflix already moved on. And now the only place left to talk is a Word document with no publisher and no audience. Baby, that is not a comeback. That's the sound of a door locking behind you. But listen, that's just my opinion. What do you think?
What I think is, at the end of the day, she's right. And like I said, it's a counter move, yeah, for potentially season 2. And that makes me this is what's so mad, yeah. This is why season 2 is likely to happen, yeah. Even if it's under a different name or whatever the case is, it's likely to happen. Because it's like, oh, you want to try and put out this book? Because once they find out that Diddy's gonna self-publish a book, it literally be a wrap. Because it's like, boom, we We know the schedule. And even if, wouldn't it be so ironic, yeah, if they released the part 2 documentary? Obviously there's episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, but wouldn't it be so ironic, yeah, if they've already got every episode edited, you know what I mean, and all that stuff there for season 2, and they're just waiting for Diddy to upload, to self-publish his book and release it on the same day. That would be so funny. But anyway, let's see what people say in the comments real quick. Let's go. Diddy blacklisted Diddy. Exactly. He's the only to blame. Facts. Who the heck would believe anything he has to say? Exactly. Someone informed Diddy it's no fun when a rabbit has the... You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say this. It is clear he is trying to counter a season 2 of The Reckoning. But even if, nah, I'll just put that. You know what I mean? It's very, very, very clear. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. But speaking of books, one book that I recommend that you do get, yeah, let me show you the name of the book. Let me give you a second, peeps. The name of the book is called Set Boundaries and Find Peace, yeah. A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab, yeah. So go purchase your copy. The link will be in the pinned comments. And yeah, let's just keep it moving. On, by the way, yeah, as a disclaimer, yeah, man does get paid from it. Bills to pay, blah blah blah. You know how it goes. But anyway, let's go. All right, so we're gonna remain on Tisa Tells channel because there's obviously one more content to react to as well in regards to that. But yeah, man, let me know what your thoughts are so far. If you haven't subscribed yet, so hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed, shout you out each and every single time. Get me? So yeah, Diddy's most feared secret: Chris Lighty, Shakir Stewart, and Kim Porter. Why 50 Cent never let Diddy go. Let's keep it moving. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what they're going to say in regards to this. Because
Diddy Combs in moments that he clearly viewed as secret.
People?
Because you see with this, yeah, these are the things that could potentially be in season 2. Just letting you know. These are the things that could potentially be in season 2. Or there could be something else. I don't know. Because even seeing Chris Lighty's name, I was like, oh yeah, he did have an issue with Chris Lighty at one point. And not to mention Andre Harrell. I think, did Andre Harrell, was it pneumonia as well? I think Heavy D was also pneumonia. I can't even remember too tough. But, come on, man. Anyway, keep it moving. Let me rewind it from the beginning. I might do the thing where I watch for 10 minutes, then pause, and then talk. You know what I'm saying? If I talk in between, it is what it is, all right? Let's go.
Netflix making news this week with a new documentary featuring never-before-seen video of Sean Diddy Combs in moments that he clearly viewed as secret.
People keep asking why 50 Cent seems obsessed with Diddy. Why he won't stop poking him, trolling him, hunting him.
Did he do it, right? No,
he did it.
You've been
No,
social
he
media
did it.
talking
He did it.
about
Okay.
it.
No,
There
Diddy.
was a moment, a fracture, a death that never made sense.
Lighty managed the careers of superstars like 50 Cent and Diddy.
But some people believe Lighty's death was too convenient.
All of the unanswered questions, something ain't really right.
50 Cent has brought in a high-powered team to investigate the hip-hop mogul's death.
What happened to Chris?
Puffy might be the destination for anybody going nowhere.
That is savage!
Nobody's allowed.
What am I going to get?
Chris Lighty wasn't the only powerful black executive who died suddenly after crossing paths with Sean Combs.
This is a guy who is just, you know, the energy and the longing to dominate and be successful.
Chris Lighty, the architect, the peacekeeper, the man who built empires for everyone but himself. The one person 50 Cent trusted in an industry full of sharks. And when Chris died, 50 changed. The energy changed. The silence changed. And the streets? Well, the streets whispered a name they weren't brave enough to say out loud. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. Chris Lighty wasn't the only powerful black executive who died suddenly after crossing paths with Sean Combs. There was Shakir Stewart.
Yes,
there was also Kim Porter. 3 names, 3 shadows, 3 unanswered questions. Now, we're not saying Diddy is the angel of death, but that cloud of death and misery that follows him around, baby, it has weight, it has shape, and it has a body count that the internet refuses to stop talking about. And so the real question isn't why 50 Cent keeps going after Diddy. The real question is, when did 50 start going after Diddy? Because if you follow the threads, if you go back far enough, if you sit with the rumors, the receipts, and the things said only in back rooms, you end up at the same place the streets always do. Chris Lighty, the first domino, the man whose death still echoes. Because sins always return home, and sometimes they bring friends. Chris Lighty, the architect, the peacekeeper, the man who built empires for everyone but himself. The one person 50 Cent trusted in an industry full of sharks. And when Chris died, 50 changed. The energy changed. The silence changed. And the streets? Well, the streets whispered a name they weren't brave enough to say out loud. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. Chris Lighty wasn't the only powerful black executive who died suddenly after crossing paths with Sean Combs. There was Shakir Stewart. There was also Kim Porter. 3 names, 3 shadows, 3 unanswered questions. Now, we're not saying Diddy is the angel of death, but that cloud of death and misery that follows him around, baby, it has weight, it has shape, and it has a body count that the internet refuses to stop talking about. And so the real question isn't why 50 Cent keeps going after Diddy. The real question is, when did 50 start going after Diddy? Because if you follow the threads, if you go back far enough, if you sit with the rumors, the receipts, and the things said only in back rooms, you end up at the same place the streets always do. Chris Lighty, the first domino, the man whose death still echoes. Because sins always return home, and sometimes they bring friends. Now, before we talk about the mystery, the whispers, the funeral, or the fallout, we need to talk about the man at the center of all this. Chris Lighty wasn't just another industry manager. He wasn't a footnote. He wasn't a background character in somebody else's legend. Chris Lighty was the infrastructure. He was the blueprint. He was the phone call you made when you wanted something done in hip-hop. Done fast, done quietly, and done right.
And this is what's so interesting. It's like raw. The timeline and everything. Like the timeline. Let's keep moving. Let's go.
He came from the South Bronx in the 1980s, the same crucible that forged LL Cool J, Nas, the pioneers of street culture. He wasn't born into access. He wasn't handed opportunities. He carved his way into the center of the music business through sheer competence. By the early 2000s, Chris Lighty had become the manager behind the managers. The man corporate America trusted, the man artists feared disappointing, and the man whose Rolodex had more power than some labels. He co-founded Violator Management. He helped break Missy Elliott. He stabilized Busta Rhymes. He refined Mariah Carey's comeback.
Now, wait, when you deep it, yeah? Because I always would hear Missy Elliott always shout out Violator. And Busta Rhymes as well. Those two. Which is mad. And I just realized, and the beef that Fat Joe had and 50 Cent had after the unfortunate situation with Chris Lighty, I think that's when they shared a statement with each other. I think Fat Joe reached out to his hand to 50 Cent and said peace. And then that's when they squashed their beef. Like, because of Chris Lighty. Because they're like, do you know what I mean? Because you can tell that Chris Lighty wouldn't want him to beef, but it is what it was, right? But nah, man. But I don't know if Tisa Tells us we'll get into it in this one, or maybe in another thing we'll react to. But basically, how we have to look into how. Yeah. Now, it wasn't by pneumonia. It was by, do you know what I mean? I can't say it on there because YouTube and stuff like that. And they say he owed money, but it's like, okay. But again, everyone else that knew him said that it didn't make sense. And it's magic because years later, I started thinking, wait, what if Diddy got involvement with that? Like, I literally just was thinking about it. And then it's mad when you deep it. Like, there's names that people are not necessarily aware of. But let's keep it moving.
Era. And he was one of the earliest architects of turning rappers into brands. Before that word meant anything. And then came the deal that changed everything. 50 Cent's partnership with Vitamin Water, a deal so huge, so unprecedented, that when Coca-Cola bought the company, 50 reportedly walked away with $100 million. Now, that wasn't luck. That wasn't timing. That was Chris Lighty. He wasn't a manager. He was an economist, a celebrity. And for 50 cents, Chris wasn't just the business guy. He was the mentor, the consigliere, the stabilizer, in a world full of enemies, lawsuits, bullets, and egos.
Like, hang out. Yeah. He said, I don't know, maybe I'll take you shopping and I get you some flash and you can give me the hood shit. And I was looking and I was like, let me just move away from him because I'm gonna mess up the win.
Now, 50 has never said this directly, but everyone around him whispers the same thing. And everybody around him says they know the truth. Chris Lighty was the one person 50 trusted, not just with deals, with direction. But here's where the story starts to tilt. Because Chris wasn't only close to 50 Cent. He also worked with Sean Diddy Combs. Not in a casual, here and there kind of way. Chris Lighty was one of the few executives who could sit at the same table as Diddy and not be swallowed whole by his ego. He knew both sides. He understood both empires. And in an industry built on alliances, betrayals, and billion-dollar grudges, Chris Lighty became something extremely rare. A shared resource between two men who could barely tolerate each other. That kind of position is power. But in hip-hop, power is never safe. So when Chris Lighty died suddenly, violently, unexpectedly, it didn't just feel like a tragedy. To the people that loved him, to the people who he worked for, to the people whispering in quiet studios and backstage hallways, it felt like the foundation of an industry cracked. Now, some people accepted the official story, and some didn't. And the one man, the one who owed Chris Lighty the most, well, he never believed it for a single second. 50 Cent.
He was the program director. He did not play that music.
And to understand why, you need to understand what was happening around Chris Lighty's orbit, professionally, personally, financially, and who else was circling that orbit with them. Because Chris Lighty didn't just connect 50 Cent and Diddy, he was the bridge between them. And when that bridge collapsed, the war shifted. Okay, let's take a step back, because I really want you to understand the pressure building under the story. You have to understand the quiet war happening long before Chris Lighty died. This wasn't a rap beef. This wasn't competition. This wasn't two men throwing subliminals at award shows. This was structural, financial, spiritual. A Cold War built on long memory. On one side, you had 50 Cent, the bully economist, if you will, the mogul who didn't care about fashion shows or champagne towers, the man who monetized survival and weaponized transparency. You had Diddy, the gatekeeper, the self-branded kingmaker, the man who controlled access, contracts, image, and opportunity. And baby, when Diddy gave you any of those, know that it was on a heavy tax. Maybe 90% or more of what you made, people said sat in that man's pockets. Now, Diddy and 50 were never meant to coexist peacefully. But
I mean, for what we know of now, they were never, you're right. They were never meant to coexist peacefully. But that said, though, it's mad when you think about it, yeah? Like, obviously, they're both from New York. They both have ideas. They both make a substantial amount of money. And to be fair, I didn't know it was Steve. Sorry, thinking about Steve Stout. So every time I think about the quarter water situation, I always think of Steve Stout. But it was actually Chris Lighty. I didn't know that. And obviously, I don't know if you caught it, but in that clip, in the part of the clip, they were showing Lloyd Banks there as well. So it goes to show you how far back that was. And it's like, like, you can argue and say 50 and Diddy wouldn't have crossed paths or whatever the case may be. You never know. You just, like, in this world, you can never say never, really. And, well, you can, but, like, when it comes to the music industry, you can never say never, right? In terms of artists. Do you know what I mean? Working together. And it's the fact that, obviously, Diddy needs ghostwriters. So that was inevitable. Like, if someone's hot, do you know what I mean? Or they're trending, you go with what's trending. Bit like what Drake does. But anyway, let's go.
the moment they crossed paths, the universe should have taken cover. The first major spark, Mase. Mase was stuck in the bad boy contract labyrinth, a place many artists entered, but somehow rarely escaped with both their masters and their sanity intact. 50 wanted Mase for G Unit. Mase wanted out a bad boy. But Diddy allegedly said no. The paperwork didn't move, the doors didn't open. And 50 took that personally. Because 50 Cent didn't believe in closed doors. He believed in blowing them off the hinges.
For real.
Then came the business war. Chirac versus effing Vodka. $1 billion battlefield disguised as nightlife marketing.
I remember when
Diddy was the face of Chirac.
I know, wait. Let me pause for a few seconds. Who remembers when 50 used to call Chirac Diddy Juice? Ain't nobody want any of that Diddy juice. Nah, wait. 50 is too hilarious. He's too hilarious at time, man.
Hence, the arsonist behind effing. 50 attacked Diddy so relentlessly online. You'd think Diddy personally distilled the vodka with his bare hands. But this wasn't about the liquor. This was about dominance, about narrative. It was about legacy. And then the wedding day. Or should we say the wedding story? Chris Lighty's wedding. The moment 50 says he knew something was off. You've seen the interviews. Saying Diddy said he'd take 50 shopping. 50 always said that's when he knew the energy was weird.
He told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You gonna make me mess up the wedding.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out.
No, sometimes you can watch interviews and you realize when was that said and why it was said. Now it makes sense. Because you're saying it at an event like that. No.
That's what a guy says to a girl.
In 50's world, a man asking him to take him shopping, baby, that wasn't harmless. That was symbolic. That was power-coded. A request that bent the hierarchy in a way 50 Cent did not like. After that moment, 50 kept his distance, but he never stopped watching. But what made this feud different? What made it deeper, older, sharper? Wasn't the jokes or the business competition. It was Chris Lighty, the one man both sides respected. The one man who brokered peace by simply existing. The one man positioned between two moguls whose empires could barely breathe the same air. When Chris Lighty was alive, he was the buffer. He was the diplomat. He was the force that kept the industry from imploding under the weight of what many say is Diddy's ego, Diddy's greed, Diddy's drama. But he died, and that buffer disappeared. And suddenly, the Cold War got colder, meaner, and much, much more intentional. Because while the world saw 50 Cent joking online, the people close to him saw something else. A long memory. You know that man's a cancer. God, praise to God for somebody that offends a cancer man. Baby, that is generational. But listen, he got a long memory, a long resentment, a long suspicion. And the streets began whispering exactly what 50 never said out loud. This wasn't beef. This wasn't trolling. This was personal. Now, by the mid-2000s, something had shifted in hip-hop that people didn't talk about in interviews. But they whispered in green rooms, texted about it, and warned their friends privately. Diddy wasn't just powerful. He wasn't just influential. He wasn't just a guy who could make or break your career. People were afraid of him. Not in a cartoon villain way, but in a quiet, insidious way. You fear a man who never suffers consequences, a man who always walks away untouched while the people around him crumble, a man who smiles on red carpets but leaves chaos behind closed doors. And after the Netflix documentary, let's be honest, the world finally saw the version of Diddy the industry had been describing in hushed tones for over 20 years. You see, many insiders said that Diddy moved like a center of gravity. Everyone who orbited him eventually felt the pull. And for some...
You know what's mad, Jed? Like, I'm just... Going through this is making me realize even further how much you really need to... Like, that book that I'm going to mention later, in the pin comments, go purchase yours, yeah? Because, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's all I can say, yeah. But we'll keep it moving, though. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notification. Let's keep it moving. Let's go.
The cost. Business partners fell out. Artists disappeared, broke, penniless, insane. Careers derailed, and personal relationships, well, the streets have always hit Diddy's personal relationships came with their...
Wait, I'm sorry. You see in that image just there? I swear to you, he looked like AJ, not Anthony Joshua. But I'm talking about AJ, you know, from Beta Squad. If you know, you know. But anyway, let's go.
Own body count. Not literal,
no
but emotional,
to AJ, by the
financial, spiritual, the type of destruction you don't recover from. And this is where Chris Lighty's story begins to bend. Now, Chris Lighty didn't just know Diddy. He managed him. He advised him. He was one of the few people in the industry who could say no to Sean Combs without risking everything. Or so he thought. He was also one of the few people in the industry that many insiders said Diddy was rageful from. Being close to Diddy came with a cost. Everyone knew that. And everyone felt that. And Chris wasn't the only one connected to that cost. Enter Kim Porter. Now, Kim Porter wasn't just Diddy's longtime partner or the mother of 3 of his children. She was the woman who he says knew him best, the one who held his image together, the one whose death the public still treats like an open wound. And then there's the rumor, the one that the industry never confirms, never denies, just allows to sit and rot in the back of the conversation. Did Chris Lighty and Kim Porter ever date? Now, some people say yes. Some say it's nonsense. Some say it was brief. Some say it wasn't romantic at all. Now, there's no primary source proof, but the speculation refuses to die. Why? Because Chris Lighty and Kim Porter ran in the same elite circles. They were photographed in the same rooms at the same parties, at the same birthday celebration, hosted by Diddy himself for Kim Porter. And when the internet sees proximity, it sees pattern. And if it was just Chris, maybe people wouldn't question it. But then there's Shakir Stewart, another brilliant Black executive, another man with a bright future, another figure who moved too close to Diddy's gravitational pull. And Shakir's story, it haunts this timeline. Shakir's own mother claimed he and Diddy had a violent confrontation in Italy, one that left Shakir bleeding, requiring stitches, and allegedly followed by threats so chilling, she begged her son to leave the music industry entirely. Shakir refused. He was too talented, too invested, too important. And weeks later, he was gone. The official ruling, suicide. Public reaction?
That ruling of how he, you know what I'm saying, it's the same ruling that happened with Chris Lighty, by the way.
Disbelief. Industry whispers, not again. When people talk about Diddy now, they talk about the raids, the lawsuits, the testimonies, the Netflix documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, that turned the culture inside out. But years before all that, years before Cassie made the world pay attention, the people who lived inside the music business already knew. They claimed they knew Diddy was dangerous. They claimed they knew being close to him came with the cost. And they claimed they knew Chris Lighty was standing too close to a man whose shadow had already swallowed too many. Now, before we talk about conspiracies, whispers, or what 50 Cent may believe in his heart, we have to set aside the last months of Chris Lighty's death, because the official story doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of pressure. And Chris Lighty was carrying enough pressure to crush a weaker man. Now, according to official reports, verified, documented, public, Chris Lighty was under serious financial strain. The IRS said he owed more than $330,000. There were tax liens, old business debts, money owed, bills piling into a storm. And for a man whose entire reputation was built on control, on order, on being the one who stabilized everyone else's chaos, falling behind financially was more than stress. Many say it was humiliation. It was the one thing he couldn't negotiate, charm, or fix. Now, interesting enough, around this time, 50 Cent hired a team of high-profile investigators to examine the death of Chris Lighty.
And it's interesting because I remember there was an interview. I think it was on Drink Champs. I can't remember, but there was an interview with 50 Cent, and he did literally say that if Chris Lighty was in, or was it Busta Rhymes? It's both, either one of them or both of them. They literally said if Chris Lighty was in financial trouble, he would talk. If anything, I can't remember word for word, but either way, they would say they were lending the money. You know what I'm saying? They were lending the money. So it's mad when you deep certain situations. But yeah, the book I'm gonna say that I recommend that you go get. Let me just get the name of it. It's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab. The link to that is going to be in the pinned comments. I recommend that you really go get that book. But let's just keep it moving. Let's go.
Now, oddly enough, Chris Lighty allegedly took his own life tragically using a bang bang the same way Shakir Stewart did. As a matter of fact, in an interview with
Time out. We're going to rewind that. Wait, what? The same... No, wait.
Reports, verified, documented, public. Chris Lighty was under serious financial strain. The IRS said he owed more than $330,000. There were tax liens, old business debts, money owed, bills piling into a storm. And for a man whose entire reputation was built on control, on order, on being the one who stabilized everyone else's chaos, falling behind financially was more than stress. Many say it was humiliation. It was the one thing he couldn't negotiate, charm, or fix. Now, interesting enough, around this time, 50 Cent hired a team of high-profile investigators to examine the death of Chris Lighty. Now, oddly enough, Chris Lighty allegedly took his own life tragically using a bang bang the same way Shakir Stewart did. As a matter of fact, in an interview with Huffington Post Live, 50 Cent, who, again, he identified himself as Lighty's close friend and client, questions the details surrounding his death, like so many of Lighty's family members and close friends. He said out of his own mouth, "I still can't make very much sense of it. The whole theory of him being in financial strain would support why you would want to do something like delete yourself? It doesn't make any sense to me. Because that $5 million they said he owed the IRS, he didn't know the IRS $5 million at the point. As a matter of fact, remember, he owed the IRS $330,000. For a man like Chris Lighty and the deals he did and as deep as his pockets went, $330,000 was nothing. As a matter of fact, Chris let a trust to his children with $1.6 million. 50 Cent also said that Chris's mother came to him and asked for financial assistance in hiring Scott Lemon, a private investigator. Hiring attorney Scott Lemon and a private investigator, Les Levine. Again, the official line, the authorities believe that Chris took his own life after a series of personal setbacks, including death and a recent divorce. He was found tragically passed away with a bang-bang wound to his head. Now, 50 Cent also went on to say that he loaned Lighty $1 million, and he got the money back with interest.
I was right. Okay, yeah, it was him. Because I do recall watching an interview of 50 literally saying that.
He said he spoke to Chris before he passed away, and Chris seemed to be looking forward to the future. Listen, according to 50 Cent, Chris, Lighty, and 50 had just secured a world tour for the next year. And again, let's get back to his financial woes. He left over $1.6 million in a trust fund to his children, and his entire estate was given to his wife, who he was in the process of divorcing. But let's rewind it a little. Let's go back to the marriage, or the collapse of it. Multiple sources, including the Daily Beast, confirm that Chris and his wife Veronica were in the middle of a separation. There were arguments, there was distance, and there were reports of tension so severe that neighbors heard shouting on the morning he passed away. Now, Veronica told police Chris had been under tremendous pressure. Others said he seemed distracted, exhausted, fraying at the edges. But here's the part that cracks the story open. No one, not his family, not his closest friends, believed he was ready to take himself off this earth. Not one. His mother didn't believe it. His brother didn't believe it. His peers didn't believe it. And 50 Cent didn't believe it. Everyone agreed on the same chilling point. That wasn't Chris. And on August 30th, 2012, Chris was found in his Bronx apartment with a bang-bang wound to his head. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide within hours. But there was no note, no documented history of self-harm, and no trail of goodbye messages. Nothing but silence and a ruling. His mother asked for that deeper investigation. You guys know 50 Cent funded it. Private investigators combed through the case, but the official story never changed. Suicide. Case closed. And yet, the questions refused to die because the perfect storm explanation, financial stress, marital collapse, business pressure, only explains the surface. It doesn't explain why Chris had just negotiated new deals. It doesn't explain why people saw him making future plans. And it doesn't explain why he was still actively managing clients and managing them well. He was making billionaires in an industry where many said Diddy wanted to be the only one, the top dog, the king, where everybody must bend and kiss the rings. It doesn't explain why friends saw him the day before and said, yeah, he seemed tired, but not ready to take himself off this earth. And it definitely doesn't explain why his death felt eerily familiar to people who remembered what happened to Shakir Stewart. The same pattern: young, powerful, black, connected, under stress, yeah, but not broken, and now gone. And when Chris died, the industry stopped. 50 was.
And this is what's mad, yeah, because you have to understand. There's patterns. And this is what the Sean Combs, The Reckoning documentary was showing. It was showing patterns of behavior that Sean Combs was doing. I think it also was purposely named Sean Combs, The Reckoning, on purpose, because yeah, he got the name Diddy, but that's just that's a nickname or artist name or whatever the case may be. But Sean Combs is the name, that's his birth name. So naturally, it makes sense to just go with that, to make people realize this is who he is. This is how he moves. This is how he reacts to certain things and certain people in certain situations. And then you saw that clip earlier with Janet Jackson, where she didn't want nothing to do with Sean Combs because she had an inkling. Do you know what I mean? Because of what she thought. And okay, later on, she did end up working with him, is what that is, yeah? But for that time, for a long time, she was not working with him whatsoever. She must have been the only one not to want to work with him. And that says a lot. But anyway, let's keep it moving. Let's go.
Devastated. LL Cool J cried. Executives showed up looking like they'd been punched in the soul. But there was one face in the crowd that made people shift in their seats. One presence that many say carried a different kind of tension. Sean Diddy Combs. Not because he wasn't welcome. Not because he didn't know Chris. But because people talk, and the streets remember patterns before the paperwork does. Biggie, Kim Porter, Shakir Stewart, Chris Lighty, Diddy standing at every funeral, every time. The public didn't say it out loud, not then. But the atmosphere at the service, the atmosphere at the service, many say it wasn't just grief. It was caution. It was fear. And it was a sense that something enormous had cracked. Again, the official story was self-deletion. The paperwork says self-deletion, and the medical examiner signed it as self-deletion. But the people who loved Chris Lighty, the people who knew Chris Lighty, say something very different. They say, this doesn't add up. This doesn't feel right. This isn't the man we knew. And in hip-hop, when the death doesn't feel right, the speculation writes itself. Now, if Chris Lighty's death shook the industry, Shakir Stewart's death haunts it. Because years before Chris died, years before the paperwork and the autopsies and the public explanations, another brilliant black executive with everything to live for ended up gone under circumstances the public still refuses to fully accept. And the similarities are so eerie, so uncomfortably aligned, that when you place these stories side by side, people stop calling it coincidence and they start calling it a pattern.
And speaking of pattern, the same, like, again, it's still technically, we can say allegedly, but like Tupac and Biggie, Just look at the pattern in the situations. Just look at the pattern. That's all I'm gonna say. Not only was it 6 months apart, but look at the pattern. You cannot tell me that's just a coincidence. You cannot tell me that's just a collateral of East Coast versus West Coast. Like, you can't tell me that, because then how comes those that were from the East Coast, do you know what I mean, that were in LA at that time, how comes? Do you understand? Like, sometimes all you have to do is literally ask questions. That's all you got to do. Ask questions. Let's go.
Now, Shakir Stewart wasn't a rapper. He wasn't a hype man. And he wasn't an artist caught in label politics. He was a corporate powerhouse, a polished, respected, and strategic mind who rose so quickly through the industry that Jay-Z himself handed him the keys to Def Jam when he stepped down. Shakir Stewart became the executive vice president of Def Jam in 2008. A position of enormous influence, strategic weight, and access to artists who shaped global culture. Maybe he helped sign Beyonce. He helped launch Young Jeezy. He championed Rick Ross. He was the future, everyone's. But behind the boardrooms and red carpets, there was another story. One told only in family interviews and quiet conversations. Now, according to his mother, Portia Stewart, Shakir and Sean Diddy Combs had a violent run-in Italy. Not an argument, not a disagreement, a fight. A confrontation that left Shakir bleeding on the floor of a hotel hallway, needing stitches and shaking in a way that frightened even the people closest to him. Portia Stewart said the incident was so disturbing, she begged her son, begged him, to leave the music business industry. And then there's a part of her account that made the industry. She claimed Diddy threatened him. She literally claimed that Sean Diddy Combs, after beating her son to a pulp in the middle of a hotel during a wedding,
during a wedding,
said, "I'm
no. During a wedding." Do you? Listen, I know family dramas happen now and again. Some people get drunk, they get leery. It is what it is, yeah. But come on, this during the wedding? No. Maybe he tried to take. No, I don't want. Anyway, I don't know. Let's go.
To kill you. This is her statement, her allegation.
Wait,
on the record, and it sits like Diddy threatened him. She literally claimed that Sean Diddy Combs, after beating her son to a pulp in the middle of a hotel during a wedding, allegedly said, "I'm going to kill you." This is her statement, her allegation, on the record, and it sits like a bruise on the timeline of hip-hop history. But Shakir didn't leave the industry. He stayed. He kept working. He kept rising. And then, just months into his new role, just months after the Italian wedding incident, just months after stepping into one of the most powerful positions in Black music, Shakir Stewart was found dead in the bathroom of his home in the Atlanta suburbs. Official ruling? Well, suicide. Family response? Absolute disbelief. His mother said he wasn't depressed. His fiance said he wasn't suicidal. His friends said he had plans, big ones, career moves, travel, new signings. Just like Chris Lighty. Two men, different coast, different roles, different eras, but the same pattern. Young, powerful, ascending, connected to Diddy, and gone under circumstances their families never accepted.
And that's the thing. When the family never accepts it, you have to deep that. If they've got money to do a deep dive investigation, they will. Do you understand? They will. Now, the other thing I want to mention is it's so eerie knowing that the fact that you got the parallels between Chris Lighty and... Wait, hold on. Did she just say different? They're from the different coasts. Okay, yeah, because Chris Lighty would have been East Coast more or less, and then Shakir Stewart was from the Southern Coast. Okay, but either way, on different coasts. Tupac and Biggie, different coasts. Although Tupac, you can argue and say he's literally from the East Coast. Do you see what I'm gonna say? But he always represent West Side. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's just keep it moving, man. It's kind of mad when you deep all the situations. Like accountability. Let's keep it moving.
Both ruled self-deletions, both disputed by the people who loved them, both surrounded by unspoken questions, inconsistencies, and industry whispers, and both remembered as men who moved too close to someone the culture now openly calls a storm cloud of death in a shiny suit. Now, when Shakir died, Diddy showed up at events like acting like nothing had happened. When Chris Diddy attended the funeral. When Kim Porter died, he attended her funeral. Now, nobody is calling Diddy the angel of death, like I said. But when the same figure keeps appearing at the funerals of people who lived complicated, stressful, and sometimes tense lives around him, the streets start whispering, the pattern starts writing itself, and the speculation becomes louder than the silence. This is why Chris Lighty's death didn't sit right. Because Shakir Stewart had died the same way. Because both men were powerful. Because both men were close to Diddy. Because both men had worlds to lose. And because both men were connected to Kim Porter. They had worlds to lose, and yet they lost everything. And because when patterns repeat themselves, people stop believing explanations. Now, patterns don't announce themselves. They appear quietly. One tragedy at a time. One funeral at a time. One whispered recollection years later. Shakir Stewart, Chris Lighty, Kim Porter. 3 people with nothing in common except 2 things. They were all connected to Sean Diddy Combs. And their deaths never quite sat right with the public. Kim Porter wasn't an executive like Chris or Shakir. She wasn't part of the boardroom politics. She wasn't negotiating deals or navigating industry violence. Kim was love. Kim was softness. Kim was family. But she also saw everything. Everything behind the scenes. Everything the world now believes because of the documentaries, the lawsuits, the testimonies. And when she died suddenly in 2018, at just 47 years old, the world didn't just mourn. It reacted.
Yep.
It recoiled.
Because I remember
questioned.
I literally like
the official ruling, pneumonia,
didn't believe it.
public sentiment, disbelief. Healthy, beautiful, vibrant women don't just collapse from pneumonia. Not without hospitalization, not without warning, and not without something else going terribly wrong. Fans didn't call it foul play. They called it strange. They called it suspicious. They called it too familiar. Because they remembered Chris. And they remembered Shakir. And the internet doesn't forget. Their names appearing on screen one by one. Look at the timeline. Look at the proximity. Look at the roles they each played. Chris Lighty, the executive who worked closely with 50 and Diddy, a man the streets say was too powerful to be allowed peace. Shakir Stewart, the rising corporate strategist who allegedly clashed violently with Diddy in Italy at L.A. Reid's wedding. Yeah, it's a small world after all.
Oh, L.A. Reid's wedding.
Whose mother, Shakir's mother, said Diddy threatened him. Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime partner, the woman who knew the most, the woman who protected his image, and the woman whose death still feels like an open wound. 3 people, 3 deaths, 3 families who never fully made peace with the explanations they were given. And standing at each funeral, quiet, composed, untouched, was the same man, Sean Combs. Now, let's be clear. Nobody has outright publicly said that Diddy caused any of these deaths. But here's what the streets are whispering. How does one man move through this much tragedy without ever being broken by it? How do so many people around him die?
No, it's real. That's a real good question. How do you not be broken by it? The first tragedy in 91, wouldn't you feel like, even the way he had to be composed to be able to, do you know what I mean, to speak, but he still didn't look heartbroken or whatever the case may be. And listen, everyone can react different to different situations. So I'm not going to, do you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit and act like I'm perfect. But then you have to, then there's the situation with, obviously, Biggie's situation. Yeah. Then you have the situation, you know what I mean? Man is literally dancing. How do you compose yourself? All right, cool, whatever. Like, even Chris Brown, yeah. Listen. Even Chris Brown, yeah. Chris Brown, like, even he, when he did his tribute to Michael Jackson in that performance, he broke down crying. He literally broke down crying. Now, maybe I need to watch the full performance in regards to Diddy's situation after Biggie situation. Maybe I need to watch it so I can see properly. But at the same time, from what I recollect, I don't think he was crying. In fact, I don't think he cried, because the thing is, it would have been shared on, it would have went viral by now. It would have. The same way that, anyway, let's keep it moving, because there's a lot. Yeah, this is only possibly 2% of what they could have shown, what they could potentially show in season 2. 2%. 2%. Yeah, you heard right. 2%. But let's keep it moving. This is based on what I feel I know, the information I'm aware of. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's go.
Suddenly, while he walks away the survivor every time? How does he keep showing up at funerals for people the streets whisper he had complicated histories with? The culture doesn't need proof to sense a pattern. It only needs a repetition. And the repetition here is deafening. And this is where 50 Cent becomes impossible to ignore. Because 50 didn't just see a tragedy. He saw a pattern, he saw parallels, and he saw the same energy around Shakir Stewart. Now, people said hovering over Chris Lighty. He saw the rumors, the whispers, the uneasy silence from people in the industry who knew too much but said too little. And 50 Cent, a man who built an empire, an entire empire, on reading the room before anyone else, saw something he couldn't unsee. He saw a connection, not a cause, not a connection. And once he made that connection, he never let it go. Now, the official reports give you closure, but patterns give you questions. And in hip-hop, the questions always tell you more than the answers. For years,
Facts.
I mean, let's be serious. People treated 50 Cent's obsession with Diddy like a joke. Oh, that's just 50 being petty. Oh, that's just 50 trolling. Oh, that's just 50 doing his Instagram comedian routine. But anyone who actually knows how 50 moves, what motivates him, what wounds him, what changes him, has always known this isn't comedy. This is vengeance. This is loyalty. This is unfinished business disguised as memes. Because when Chris Lighty died, something in 50 broke that never healed. Chris Lighty wasn't just 50 Cent's manager. He was the one man 50 trusted in an industry full of snakes. He was the man who got 50 paid, really paid. He was the man who taught 50 business, leverage, negotiation, the tools that made 50 the mogul he is today. And when someone changes your life, you don't just move on when they die. You investigate, you mourn, you analyze, you ask questions the industry doesn't want asked. And 50 did all of that. He hired investigators. He challenged the narrative. He refused to accept the official story because the Chris Lighty he knew was not a man who folded. He was a man who fought. And that's when the whispers started aligning. The Shakir Stewart parallels, the Kim Porter shock, the sudden death, the proximity, the unease. And 50 Cent, a man who built his entire career on reading danger before it arrives, saw something the public wasn't ready to see. He saw a pattern with one name appearing too often. Diddy. Not as a culprit, not as a villain with a weapon, but as a force, a gravitational pull, a chaotic energy that seemed to swallow the people around him. 50 Cent's feud with Diddy didn't survive because the Vodka Wars, the music beef, the personality clashes. It survived because 50 Cent began to believe, many say, deeply, privately, obsessively, that Diddy's empire was built on exploiting the people around him, breaking them, discarding them, and burying the damage under money and PR. And Chris Lighty, he was the exception. He wasn't supposed to fall. Not him. Not the one man 50 thought was untouchable. That's the wound 50 never let close. So when the world finally caught up, when the lawsuits dropped, when the testimonies surfaced, when the documentaries aired, when federal agents kicked down those doors, 50 didn't gloat. He didn't look surprised. He didn't even look shocked. He looked ready. Like a man who'd been waiting 10 years for the rest of the world to finally see what he maybe saw the
Makes
day
sense.
Chris
It makes
Lighty
sense.
died. Again, people think 50's memes are jokes, but the truth is more sinister. 50 Cent has been chronicling Diddy's downfall like a historian and fueling it like an architect. Every documentary, every interview, every quote, every joke, it's all part of the same mission. Some say that mission is to make sure nobody forgets Chris Lighty, to make sure nobody moves on, to make sure Diddy's world burns down in full public view with no silence left to hide behind. 50 isn't obsessed with Diddy. He's shadowing him, tracking him, waiting for accountability in a world where many of his friends got none. This isn't.
And so this is what I appreciate about what's going on in this situation. Yeah, it's like you could argue, and Tisa Tells could be right, that 50 Cent is, you know what I mean? It's vengeance. It's vengeance. And you could argue that, yeah, he's smiling so hard because it's like, I saw this coming. Like, and he had that smile here, that grin, like there's more coming. This is what leads me to thinking there's gonna be a season 2 or at least another part with the documentary or something. Something's coming. I just don't know I don't know how to explain it. I genuinely don't know how to explain it. I really don't. And it's like in the wrap up 2024 with Uncle M. I can't say his name like that on, but you know what I'm talking about. Like he literally did say that 50 Cent was working on a documentary for Diddy, but it was named Diddy Do It, but obviously they renamed it. So that's how I knew the documentary was coming. But it's like this, I could be wrong, but it's almost reminiscent of the feeling. It's reminiscent of. Let me know in the comments below. Do you ever get a feeling of something that's going to happen, but you don't? It actually happens like months or even years later, or whatever the case may be. But that feeling you had in that moment, you knew. You had that. It's like you knew for some reason. Like that's the feeling I have. But like it's the same thing. I'm going to use sport as an example. I support Chelsea Football Club. When Thiago Silva signed for Chelsea on a free, I had a feeling he was going to be the best signing. Like for some reason, I had that feeling. he had a few poor games, like a few poor games at the start of his career at Chelsea. Then ultimately went on to do well. Get me? We helped him get the Champions League. You know what I'm saying? 2021. But anyway, that aside, the point I'm trying to make is it's that feeling. Now I'm saying that feeling, that's the same feeling I get where 50 Cent has something coming in regards to Diddy. Like there's something more coming. Some may argue and talk about Jay-Z this, and I think he only trolls Jay-Z because obviously there's obviously a hit. There's got to be a reason. We'll get to that another time. But as for Diddy, let's keep it moving. Let's go.
Beef. This isn't trolling. This is a grief-wearing armor. Because to 50 cents, Diddy didn't just lose a manager. 50 Cent lost the man who protected him from everyone else in the industry, except the one person nobody could protect him from. For a decade, the doubts around Chris Lighty's death lived in the shadows. Whispers at industry dinners, side comments in studio sessions, quiet murmurs and back-channel conversations. The same was true for Shakira Stewart and Kim Porter. And so many others whose stories drifted through hip-hop like ghost notes. But then one woman stepped forward and the entire world snapped awake. Cassie. In 2003, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, alleging years of abuse, coercion, violence, and control. And within 24 hours, it settled. Fast, quiet, suspiciously fast.
I remember that because months before he was in London.
Mood shifted.
Anyway,
the tone on Diddy changed. The whispers became a roar. Because Cassie didn't just accuse Diddy of being abusive. She described behaviors the industry had been tiptoeing around for decades and documenting. Manipulation, control, isolation, violence cloaked as glamour. The lawsuit cracked the dam. The documentaries, the Netflix documentary, Diddy the Reckoning, baby, that broke it open. When the federal agents raided Diddy's home in 2024, helicopters, armored vehicles, tactical teams, the culture reached a boiling point. Everything people whispered about suddenly felt plausible. Everything people joked about suddenly felt documented. Everything 50 Cent had suggested for years began to look less like trolling and more like foreshadowing. The public started asking questions the industry had been too afraid to ask. What exactly happened behind closed doors? What did people see and ignore? What did insiders protect? And who paid the price for that protection? And then the Netflix documentary, Diddy the Reckoning, the cultural earthquake, the point of no return. The documentary didn't just allege abuse. It traced decades of destruction, broken lives, silenced victims, and patterns that made people revisit every tragedy touching Diddy's orbit. Kim Porter's death, Shakira Stewart's death, Chris Lighty's death. Nothing. Suddenly, these weren't isolated incidents. They were puzzle pieces the public never had the courage or information to assemble. Now the pieces were on the table. And 50 Cent, he didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He didn't act surprised. He reacted like a man watching an old prophecy come true. Because while the world was finally learning who Diddy might have been all along, 50 had been living with that suspicion. Many say since the day Chris Lighty passed away. And with every lawsuit, every raid, every headline, every documentary, 50 looked, well, he looked less like a hater and more like a historian who saw the first domino fall a long, long time ago. This wasn't about Cassie, though her courage changed everything. This wasn't about the raids, though they made denial impossible. This wasn't about the documentary, though it shattered what was left of Diddy's reputation.
And that's the thing people need to understand. Yeah, it's like people need to understand. Yeah, it's deeper than just Cassie, and the fact that some may argue, say, "Oh, Cassie not a victim." No, she is a victim, right? That she is a victim. Like if you don't believe she was a victim, that's on you. Just know that you have to be careful with the words you say, because the words you say, you could attract that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? And I'm talking about the way you may feel about, you know what I mean? But because sometimes you have to learn the hard way. You know what I'm saying? And when you learn the hard way, you're like, okay. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say on that. But I will say this. Cassie was brave. Yeah, she was very, very brave, because that civil lawsuit opened Pandora's box. That civil lawsuit led to a situation where Little Rod was also comfortable to speak. And although some people want to argue, not argue, they want to laugh about his situation. Why would you stay? That again, timeline. Like, did that happen with him waking up sore? Did that happen after the incident that happened in the bathroom with Sean Combs and Justin Combs? And did that happen? I don't know. You ask me. Like, it's mad when you deep a lot of questions. Yeah. Like, so when you ask, it's when you deep a lot of things. But anyway, let's keep it moving. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notifications. Like I said, go to the comments in the pinned comments, and you will see a link to the book. Give me a second. The book is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab. All right. So I recommend you go buy that book. All right. So let's keep it moving. Let's go.
This was about the pattern. A pattern that started long before the internet realized it. A pattern people whispered about in the industry. And a pattern that always seemed to brush up against loss. And a pattern that, some people say for 50 cents, began in one place: the morning Chris Lighty died. So, what are we left with? Well, when you stack the names, when you trace the timeline, when you follow the pattern, a strange thing happens. The story stops being about gossip or rumors or conspiracies. It becomes about grief, unanswered questions, and the silence that follows powerful men. Chris Lighty, Shakir Stewart, Kim Porter, 3 names that should have lived longer than their headlines. 3 people the industry still speaks about in low voices. 3 losses that reshape the geographic of Black music. And at the center of all these 3 stories, in proximity, in rumor, and speculation, and presence, is Sean Diddy Combs. Not as a villain, not as a culprit, but as a constant, a gravitational force. The man who walked away from every storm while the people around him seemed to drown. And there is one person who never forgot that. One person who connected the dots long before the public ever saw the pieces. One person who lost more than money, deals, or opportunities the day Chris Lighty died. 50 Cent. Now, people love to paint him as an internet troll of hip-hop. The man who can't stop laughing, who can't stop antagonizing, who can't stop poking the bear. But if you look closer, if you look at the timeline, if you look at his patterns, the way people look at Diddy's, well, the jokes start to look like armor. The memes start to look like surveillance. And the shade starts to look like strategy. 50 Cent wasn't trolling Diddy, tracking him, waiting, watching, documenting, preparing for the moment when the world would see what many say he believed, what some say he saw the day he lost Chris. And now that moment has arrived. The lawsuits, the testimonies, the raids, the documentary, the unraveling of a dynasty people once believed was bulletproof. As each piece fell, 50 didn't celebrate. He confirmed. This wasn't shock. This wasn't amazement. This was recognition. The kind of recognition you only have when you've been predicting a storm for 10 years and the clouds finally match your memory. And the story isn't about whether Chris Lighty was murdered. It isn't about whether Shakir Stewart was silenced. It isn't about whether Kim Porter's death was suspicious. Those questions belong to families, investigators, and it belongs to history. This is about what loss does to loyalty, what unanswered questions do to a man like 50 Cent, and what a decade of suspicion hardens into. And the truth is simple. 50 Cent didn't just lose a manager. He lost one of the only people who helped him survive in an industry that eats his own, that eats its own. So when people ask, why won't Diddy let 50 go? Why is he so obsessed? Why is he always posting? They're asking the wrong question. The truth isn't obsession. The truth is vengeance. People keep asking why 50 Cent seems obsessed with Diddy. What if that question is wrong? What if 50 isn't obsessed? What if 50 is avenging someone? Because like we've always said, sins always return home. And sometimes they bring friends.
That was very deep. I won't even lie to you. That was extremely deep. I do feel like there's like I said, I still feel like there's 2%. Like it's 2%. 2%. Anyway, someone put, it's so weird how so many of the people in Diddy's orbit either die of pneumonia or they take their own life. Now you're talking, Tisa. Thank you for speaking on Chris's life. 50's fierce at playing the long game. See, even Heavy D was around Diddy when he passed. I was surprised they didn't mention that in the documentary. Yeah, see? I feel like this is only 2% of what they should have in the next documentary or whatever is coming next, because there are so many names and it can't just be a coincidence. It just can't be a coincidence. You know what I mean? It can't be. It can't be. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Hit the like button, turn on your post notification if you haven't already. We're going to get on to the next thing what we're going to react to. There's a lot more. Because like I said, this is just 2%. Yeah? The next thing we're going to react to, let me get my notes, all right? Bear with me. I've got my notes here. Okay, so we've done that. Oh, okay. All right, so the next thing is this one. Like I said, if this is 20, if that's 2%, then this, let's see if this is more of what needs to be or what could be in season 2. 50 Cent couldn't. I don't watch the noise in the background though. Get me? Certain things need to be done. All right, we're going to take a quick pause. Just hit the subscribe button, turn on post notification, leave a comment in the comments below. Get me? While I take a short break, you can leave your comments, leave your thoughts. You've got ample time to do that now. All right, people, we're back. Make sure you have used this time wisely. Yeah, hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notification. Let's keep it moving. Let's go. So 22 minutes of the deleted scene 50 Cent couldn't show in the Diddy doc. Netflix banned them. Could you say Netflix banned them? For real, for real? Come on, man. But let's keep it moving. Let's go.
Something that was promised around a year ago has actually turned up. It's 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. It's 4 parts, 4 hours long, and it's a walk through Diddy's life.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
The person that either you have been was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark.
50 Cent just dropped the most explosive documentary of 2025. Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, hit Netflix in early December and instantly lit up the internet. The footage was intense. The claims were...
Wait, what? Hang on. I swear the information is completely incorrect. Let's rewind that.
Then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark.
50 Cent just dropped the most explosive documentary of 2025. Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, hit Netflix in early December.
There you go. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I could watch this. Do you know why? Because we need to deal with facts. Obviously, yeah, the other one was technically hearsay per se, but from when you're getting the name of the documentary wrong, that alone is a telltale sign that you don't know what you're talking about, big man. You know what I'm saying? You do not know what you're talking about. It's clearly, and you even showed the image of, like, there was a previous image of what the documentary was originally going to be called, which was Diddy Do It. But then now you want to show Diddy, The Making of the Bad Boy, but it literally says Peacock, not Netflix. Netflix and Peacock are 2 different networks. Like, listen here, bro. Hey, listen. Hey, I'm sure someone else put in the comments. Let's see what it says here. Anybody else want to 50 Cent to make a Reckoning Part 2? Yep, he will. Now I want to know why Mace became a born-again pastor. 48 Hours with Diddy sound like a title of a horror movie. It actually does, to be honest with you. See, look, I knew someone was going to mention it. The Making of a Bad Boy documentary isn't 50 Cent's documentary. That's a completely different one. 50's is called The Reckoning. Do you know what? Let's react to it. Hang on, wait. Yeah, all right, let's so documentary is called Sean Combs The Reckoning. Yeah, and it was on Netflix, not Peacock. Also, yeah, I'll just put that. Presented correctly, not just for clicks and views. Do you know what I mean? I call it for what it is because that's what that seems like. All right, but it has inspired me just now. I won't lie to you. Cool. And they want to call it Hood Wars. Are you really from the hood? Are you really from the hood? You're getting it wrong like this.
and instantly lit up the internet. The footage was intense, the claims were serious, and with Diddy sitting in a Brooklyn jail cell awaiting trial, the timing looked unreal.
50 Cent has been working on this documentary for almost 2 years. The footage he has is insane. The people he got speaking about Diddy is ridiculous.
But the wild part? Netflix didn't show everything. Some stories were too messy, some witnesses were too risky, and some allegations surfaced the moment the documentary went live.
Did they talk about the man who nutted on his nipples?
I didn't hear the nut on the nipples.
50 was not about to put that
Did not talk about the nut on the nipples, but they do have jurors in there that
He
talk
should have
about.
put that after the sanitizer part.
So today, we're covering the scenes that never made it, because they raised questions Netflix wouldn't touch. Let's set the stage. March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles. Biggie had already made it from hustler in Brooklyn to rap royalty. But the city he stepped into was tense, still recovering from Tupac's murder just 6 months earlier. Rumors flew, threats lurked in the shadows, and everyone in hip-hop knew LA wasn't safe. Biggie was in town promoting Life After Death, his second album. He had interviews, parties, appearances. His life was moving fast. And on that night, despite everything, he showed up at a Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Some said it was pride, some said it was business. Either way, he still showed up. Then it happened. On the way back to his hotel, his SUV was ambushed at the corner of Wilshire and South Fairfax. 4 bullets, 1 fatal. Biggie was gone before the city even had a chance to process it. Another legend taken, another chapter of the East Coast-West Coast feud written in blood.
Early this morning in Los Angeles, the 24-year-old rapper whose real name is Christopher.
Okay, how is your channel called the Hood War Chronicles if you are saying that there is an East Coast West Coast beef or war when there wasn't really an East Coast or West that anyway.
Wallace lived in Raleigh in the 1980s.
FBI agents are looking for a man they say could. Both communities are mourning the death of the rapper known as Notorious B.I.G.
But here's another thing Netflix didn't show. The side story that night involving Mace. While Biggie's death made headlines, Mace was holed up in a hotel, surrounded by about 70 Bloods.
I actually was trapped in a hotel. It was about probably like 70 or so Bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave my room.
No exaggeration, he was trapped. Some people whispered that he might have been a secondary target. Why? Because Mace supposedly had receipts, information about the inner workings of Bad Boy, secrets nobody wanted to see the light of day. He couldn't just step out. He couldn't call for help. Nobody from the crew came looking for him. It was every man for himself. Eventually, a former Bad Boy security guard, Gene Deal, had to navigate through all the chaos to get him out.
Early that morning, when Puff had got on a plane and left Mace, we went and got him and let him, me, some dudes from Black Hands, we went and got Mace. Mace came down, went to his car, and he got.
But that night changed Mace forever. Loyalty, he realized, could disappear in a heartbeat. The people he trusted were gone, and he never forgot it. And here's the kicker. Years later, Mace spoke up about that night in LA, the things he saw, the chaos behind the scenes, the secrets, the receipts, the tension that could have ripped the crew apart. He hinted at truths that Netflix didn't touch, stories about power, fear, and loyalty in the Bad Boy empire, things that could have completely flipped what people saw on screen. Now, and if you think that's intense, it's only part of the picture, because the very next story, the one Netflix didn't touch, hit just one day after the documentary went live, and it shook the hip-hop world in a way no one expected. On December 8th, 2024, a lawsuit surfaced that could have completely rewritten.
Here's the thing, yeah. All right, look. Could they have talked about that? I mean, the whole thing was about Diddy and his patterns and behavior. So naturally, they did show how he only cares about himself. That's essentially what the documentary showed. Yeah, and and he's a very devious individual. That's what they really showed. Was Mace necessary in the storyline, or was he not really? Could he have been shown in the documentary? Yeah. But could he be shown in season 2? Who knows? I don't know. Because he's been going out, he's been letting people know about Diddy for a long while as well. And obviously 50 did try to sign Mace to G-Unit at one point, and obviously Diddy wasn't having it. So yeah, it's just one of them ones where you're like, yeah, it's a bit techie still. But listen, speaking of it being a bit techie, I'm gonna suggest that you hit the link in the description box below, right? Or the pinned comments, should I say. Go purchase your book of Set Boundaries, Find Peace, and A Guide of Reclaiming Yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab. Because that's essentially what not Sean Connery, that's not what he did, but it's what Mace did. He set boundaries. And look at him now. You know what I mean? Man's got a show with one of his childhood friends. Do you know what I mean? Where even they had a fallout at one point, but like, you know, they reconciled, and when they're together, it's like, you know what I mean? Pause. Again, that's their thing, and it's like pause. Like they just giggle. You know them. You know that one friend you have in school, that when you're in school, that one friend you have where you can giggle about anything. That's the friendship that they have, and it's so hilarious to watch, man. But anyway, let's keep it moving. Because now they're mentioning about Jay-Z. All right, what are you saying about Jay-Z? That could have shook up the hip-hop world. Yeah, let's go.
What 50 Cent had just released on Netflix. A woman, identified only as Jane Doe, amended her existing case against Diddy and added another name, Sean Jay-Z Carter. The allegations that both Diddy and Jay-Z assaulted her when she was just 13 years old, allegedly at an MTV Video Music Awards after party back in 2000.
A woman who accused the two hip-hop artists of sexual assault when she was 13.
Stop and think about that for a second. This wasn't just some minor claim. These are two of the biggest names in hip-hop, accused of a crime that shocked the imagination. And the timing? Unreal. The original doc came out one day before this lawsuit hit the headlines. If this had happened just a week or two earlier, it likely would have reshaped the entire narrative of the documentary. Jay-Z responded immediately, calling the allegations idiotic and accusing the lawyer, Tony Busby, of trying to shake down celebrities.
Diddy and Jay-Z denying any wrongdoing, Jay-Z calling the allegations frivolous, fictitious, and appalling.
He made it clear he thought the claims were nothing more than theatrics. Meanwhile, Diddy, in classic fashion, has often referred to Jay-Z as his brother, a sign of deep respect and loyalty in the industry. That bond makes them maybe birds of a feather, two of the most powerful forces in hip-hop, tied together by empire, influence, and decades of shared history.
What's that? That's Mauve King?
It's feeling marvelous.
You gotta get the shoes though. Y'all know what it is.
But the point here isn't who's guilty or not. It's that this story, too, was too big, too explosive, and it didn't make it into the final cut. Netflix.
Do you know why it didn't make it into the final cut? Because the case was frivolous. That's why. The case got dismissed. That's why. Jane Doe, oh my days. I said I wasn't going to watch this year, but then I started to continue to watch it regardless. But come on, man. Come on. How you calling your channel the Hood War Chronicles and you are not up on game on, like, if you're gonna talk, like, listen, I'm not just saying it because I'm like a fan of hip hop culture per se and all that stuff there, but I'm literally saying this because we got to deal with the facts. Okay, Justin Bieber, it's a known fact. What the person did not say, yeah, in regards to Justin Bieber, is it was Usher that, I don't want to use the word lured, but he was under the tutelage of Justin Bieber was under the tutelage of Usher. Usher at one point was under the tutelage of Sean Combs at a younger age. Yeah. What they did not also show in a documentary, which they could add in season 2 if there's going to be a season 2, is how Sean Combs had Diddy. Sorry, that is Diddy. Sean Combs had Usher at his house at a very young age. Yeah. Usher has actually talked about it. Usher Raymond has talked about it. And when asked, would you let any of your sons at that age be in a similar situation? He said no. So what are we saying here? Do you understand? And that 48 hours was because of Usher when you deep it. That's why anyway, this is why I like reacting to stuff, because I can correct stuff. Yeah. Tony Busby, do you know what I mean? He is a clout chaser. Do you know what I mean? He genuinely is a clout chaser. You saw, do you know what I mean? And I get it. I understand it. Like but come on now. They had to remove that case. And I can't remember the full context of what happened in that case, but clearly Jay-Z was found completely innocent. The case got dismissed because Jane Doe, I think she admitted to lying or something like that. And someone wants to say, oh, he paid her off. No. Look, no one got paid off. Nobody. Literally nobody. Because Jay-Z he literally said it for what it was. You are trying, like, it's not said verbatim, it's like you are trying to make money out of people. Because that's what he did. It's a shakedown. He's done it to so many other people. It's a shakedown. But it's like he has a daughter of the same age of what they were, of that type of accusation. So of course he's gonna be livid about that. Like oh man. We're going to continue anyway. Let's go.
It seems, played it safe. And here's where it gets interesting. Busby, the lawyer behind the case, has a history of filing high-profile lawsuits against Diddy. He's no stranger to controversy. So when Jay-Z's name appeared, it wasn't just a coincidence.
Wait. He doesn't have a high profile of filing lawsuits against Diddy. His name propped up because of the opportunity, because Diddy's name is there. Tony Busby is, for a lack of a better term, of what Jay-Z called him, was a 1-800 lawyer. He's an ambulance chaser lawyer. He's that type of lawyer. He's not a criminal case lawyer. He's not a civil lawsuit type of lawyer in terms of these type of allegations and accusation type of lawyer. You can look it up for yourself. Just saying.
It was a calculated escalation, one that the documentary didn't account for. In other words, the day after Netflix went live, the narrative changed overnight, and anyone watching the documentary didn't see it coming. This is the kind of story that makes you step back and wonder, how much of the real drama, the messy, dangerous, behind-the-scenes truth, actually makes it onto the screen? And just like that, the Netflix version of Diddy's empire was missing one of its most explosive chapters. The story of Jay-Z, Diddy, and Jane Doe changed the narrative overnight, but viewers didn't see it coming. That's the thing about the documentary.
Okay. When it comes to documentaries, yeah, at least ones that are credible, especially when they're talking about a human being, especially when that person is alive, especially. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because if you were to tell lies about someone in a documentary, a lawsuit's going to happen. Yeah. Don't think Jay-Z wouldn't be like, you got my name in this lawsuit, you got my name in this documentary in a perception like this. We're going to court, bruv. What are we talking here? We're going to court. What are we saying? He's got lawyers on retainer. Same way 50 Cent's got lawyers on retainer, so does Jay-Z. And they answer certain situations with a quickness. Yeah, with a quickness. Yeah, when I say with a quickness, sometimes certain cases can take a while or whatever the case may be. But other than that, all I'm saying is you don't put, there's a reason why they have a research team. There's a reason why certain things are not put in documentaries. Rumors are not necessarily put in documentaries. Okay, you may have heard a rumor, but if it's backed by evidence, like if you notice, one thing I've noticed within that documentary, The Reckoning, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, in episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, they showed as much evidence as they could to back up their claims. As much evidence. You got AuberyODay reading out the text, the emails, then also reading out an affidavit that someone read, that someone said of what allegedly happened to AuberyODay, which she doesn't want to believe. Then you've got Little Rod situation where he's in a situation where he says, "Oh, well, do you know what I mean? The situation happened with Justin and Sean Combs in that bathroom with that guy, and there's a literal video footage of him filming the bathroom. You can see the blood on the floor. So when you deep that there's literal facts of what people are saying, well, evidence. That's the whole point. They're not going to do Alexandra Stapleton and 50 Cent and Netflix. They're not going to get involved in a project like this and risk taking an L. They're not. They're not, because this is a massive deal. So for them not to include, this Jay-Z situation, the Jay-Z situation is evidence that that could have been mentioned, but it's not necessary because the case was dismissed or something like that. I can't remember the full story, but do you know what I mean? If you don't like Jay-Z, just say it. 50 Cent can have his disdain towards Jay-Z now and again and could be trolling him now and again for whatever purpose. I don't know. It is what it is. It's 50 Cent. You never know what his agenda is, right? But again, even he has his, I won't say skeletons in his closet, but even he's not perfect, 50 Cent. So let's stop all this, all right? Let's keep it moving.
Some stories were just too dangerous, too messy, or too sensitive to air. And one of the biggest missing files? Kim Porter. Her story didn't make it into the doc either, but it's a thread that runs straight through the bad boy universe. Kim Porter wasn't just Diddy's ex. She was the mother of his children, an important figure in his life for decades, and someone who saw everything behind the empire's polished exterior. And the events leading up to her death make it clear why Netflix left her story out. Kim died unexpectedly on November 15, 2018, officially from pneumonia, but her final days were anything but ordinary. Weeks before she passed, she attended a Hollywood premiere with Diddy, the Netflix premiere of the holiday calendar, starring her son Quincy Brown. Reports say Kim wasn't feeling well. She had flu symptoms, a fever over 102, but she went out anyway. Diddy, ever concerned with appearances, allegedly pushed for her presence. Cameras, lights, the perfect family tableau. Quincy in the center, her twin daughters on either side, Diddy at the forefront, and Kim with a forced smile. She may have gone along with it, but it was clear her health was compromised. There's more. Kim had reportedly been considering writing a book, a tell-all about life in the music world and the people close to her. Some friends claimed it would have been about raising well-mannered kids in Hollywood, but fans speculated she had witnessed things Diddy might not have wanted exposed. Her relationship with Diddy was complicated. They met in 1994, had their first child in 1998, split when Diddy dated Jennifer Lopez, reconciled, had twins in 2003, and broke up again in 2007 after the revelation of a secret child with an associate. Despite everything, they co-parented.
Just say it plainly. With her friend, her best friend, Sarah Chapman. Let's get that clear, okay? Who also, Sarah Chapman, allegedly, not even allegedly, there, she had a situation with Tupac. you could say dated if you want to use the term dated, but you could say situation with Tupac, because Tupac literally said he gets around. All right. But anyway, let's go.
And Kim remained an important figure in the family. There were darker episodes too. During one separation, Kim was involved with Shakir Stewart, a Def Jam executive. Reports say Diddy reacted violently, leaving her with a broken nose. Months later, Stewart died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, though rumors suggested possible foul play. These details added layers to a story that Netflix didn't touch. In her last days, Kim's concern for her children was evident. She sent them to Diddy's house while she recovered from the flu. 3 days before she died, she told him to take care of them. And while Kim Porter's story was quietly left out, another major piece of the puzzle is Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, and a man who knows the inside of the empire better than almost anyone alive. If you've ever dug into Diddy's history online, you've probably seen Gene Deal's interviews. He's been telling his story for years, exposing what he calls the dark side of Diddy, the side that never makes headlines and certainly didn't make.
Alright, so it's clear my reaction to why Gene Deal never made the documentary is available to watch, so you can watch that. It is available to watch in that, so yeah. But let's hear what they got to say. But yeah, they're completely right about the Shakir Stewart situation. That wasn't mentioned. The Kim Porter situation wasn't talked about enough in detail, which leads me to believe there's going to be a season 2. Do you see what I'm trying to say? But I feel like it'll be a lot more in depth in certain situations, and I feel like it's hard to explain, and I could be wrong. But sometimes, if I'm right, I'm right. Let's go.
Make it into 50 Cent's Netflix documentary. Gene worked with Diddy during the height of Bad Boy Records in the 90s, when Biggie was alive, and when Puff Daddy was running the industry. He was there for it all. The late night parties, the studio sessions, the business deals, the drama. He witnessed the loyal.
Wait, time out. He wasn't there for the late night parties. Let's not do that. You know what I mean? Let's not do that. It's better to say he was there for certain situations that he can talk of.
Loyalty, the betrayal, and the secrets that came with the power of Bad Boy. And he hasn't been shy about sharing it. His interviews have millions of views. He's appeared on podcasts like Anything Goes with James English and has collaborated with other insiders to talk about tunnels, rituals.
This is how I know you're not from the hood, alright? How can you call yourself Hood War Chronicles and you don't even first mention the art of dialogue when it comes to Gene Deal? Nah, you're bugging. You are I need to leave a comment out right now. You are bugging. You are bugging. How you Hood War Chronicles and you don't even mention Gene Deal being on the art of dialogue, yet mention someone else's platform that is more of a one-off with regularly goes on the art of dialogue. Let me see what the most recent comments. I'm actually curious. This video is grasping at straws. I thought I was going to learn something new. Instead, nothing to say anything happened with Justin. Of course, Usher doesn't want the kids going to parties he went to. A lot of parents don't want their kids to do the things we do. Oh, so they do go to Usher. Fair enough.
and alleged occult practices behind the scenes of the music world. But watch 50 Cent's Netflix documentary, and you'll notice something striking. Gene Deal is nowhere to be found. Not one clip, not one mention, nothing. Why? Because his stories are intense, not the kind of thing Netflix wants to fact-check or dispute. Gene Deal isn't talking about gossip. He's talking about alleged occult rituals and moments that defy.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. I'm so glad I reacted to Gene Deal's reaction in regards to why he didn't appear. And you can go watch that. I'm glad I watched that before this, because I can say this is cap. This is cap. This is cap. This is cap. And let me look at the time level when this was uploaded. 2 days ago. There you go. The fact that the Art of Dialogue has been uploading individual clips here and there. He only uploaded the full interview, I believe, yesterday or the day before. So you're telling me you couldn't watch those to get an insight on why he didn't appear before making such things? This is why you should, like, as much as I am reacting to this, this is a reminder that not everything you see on the internet is facts. Not everything that's on the internet is real. It is what it is. You know what I mean? And look, at the end of the day, this is you just gotta take things with a pinch of salt in it. You know what I mean? But let's continue reacting. Let's go.
Easy explanation. His most famous story involves Central Park in 1999, right before Diddy's nightclub shooting trial. According to Gene, Diddy was terrified he might be convicted, so he took Gene to Central Park to meet a man who performed rituals. What happened next sounds straight out of a movie. Diddy dropped to his knees. The man waved smoke and burned something, maybe sage around him, and then he brought out a caged white bird. Gene says the man instructed Diddy to participate in a sacrifice ritual to avoid conviction. Afterward, they went straight to the courthouse for the verdict. Believe it or not, Gene Deal swears it happened. He's told this story countless times, with the same details each time. The exact location in Central Park, what Diddy was wearing, even the time of day. He doesn't sound like someone making up drama for clicks. He sounds like a man who saw something he still can't fully explain. But Netflix? They skipped it. Because how do you verify an alleged animal sacrifice in Central Park 25 years ago? You can't. And that's the problem. Gene Deal's stories are too controversial, too unverifiable, and too dark for mainstream audiences. Yet millions millions of YouTube viewers have already heard him, soaking in these behind-the-scenes revelations that reveal a side of Diddy no documentary dared touch. The fact is, Gene Deal wasn't just some random guy. He worked for Diddy for years, he's credible, and he witnessed the highs and lows of an empire that still dominates hip-hop culture. But in the eyes of Netflix, some stories are too explosive, too strange, too risky to air. And that's why the world never saw this chapter in 50 Cent's documentary, even though it's been played out millions of times online. It's the ultimate deleted scene. the behind-the-scenes truth that only exists in whispers, interviews, and the memories of someone who was actually there. While Kim Porter's story was quietly left out and Gene Deal's wild Central Park ritual never made it into the documentary, there's another file that Netflix refused to touch. Justin Bieber. Yes, the pop star. And if you think 50 Cent's doc was already explosive, this one takes things to a completely different level. Back in November 2009, Bieber was just 15 years old. He was still a kid from Canada who had just been discovered on YouTube, singing in his bedroom and dreaming big. And then Diddy posted a video on his official YouTube channel titled Justin Bieber 48 Hours with Diddy. At first glance, it looks like a fun celebrity hangout. Diddy says he has custody of Bieber for the next 48 hours, calling it a 15-year-old's dream, and promising that they're about to have the time of their lives. But then he drops a line that makes your skin crawl. Where we're hanging out and what we're doing, we can't really disclose.
Yo, Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose.
Think about that for a second. You're 15 years old, with one of the most powerful men in music, and he openly tells the world that what you're doing together can't be talked about. That's not normal. That's not mentorship. That's, well, it's suspicious. And it's all online for anyone to see.
That's not even just suspicious, that's grooming. Allegedly. And listen, you're right, it wasn't shown in the documentary, and one could argue, again, is Alexander Stapleton and 50 Cent working on something or have something ready? Because it's all about chess. You know what I mean?
In the video,
Let's go.
Bieber is smiling, but knowing what we know now, it hits differently. Diddy talks about him like he's a prize, like this kid is a trophy to be shown off. And again, this is 2009. Bieber was new to the industry, vulnerable, and suddenly in the orbit of one of hip-hop's most influential figures. Fast forward to 2024. Diddy's arrest puts all eyes back on old footage.
What he's missing out on is saying that a year later, was it a year later or a few years later, in another footage, Diddy is seen, it's the one where they're wearing that same type of jacket, where Diddy's like, you don't even have a number no more or whatever. And then Justin Bieber looks shook up. Like he looks scared. He looks scared. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it. He looked very, very, very scared. And then he gave, like he was trying to tell Diddy no, but it's like he ended up giving a number, but clearly he gave a wrong number on accident. No, not accident, on purpose, if that makes sense. Like, it's mad when you think. Anyway.
And this video resurfaces. Fans watch it again, and the reaction is intense. Comment sections blow up. People are calling it creepy, predatory, and disturbing. Some even describe it as more like a horror film than a celebrity hangout. Then, in May 2025, Justin Bieber finally broke his silence. His representative clarified, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, there are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him.
Person that either you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. Very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want.
So here's the thing. Bieber is saying he personally wasn't a victim, but he's also confirming that harm happened to others. And that carefully worded statement raises more questions than it answers. What really happened during those 48 hours? Why couldn't Diddy disclose what they were doing? And if Bieber was safe, why did the video feel so uncomfortable enough to warrant a statement years later? Netflix didn't touch this either. Maybe because Bieber denied being a victim. Maybe because speculation could open legal doors. But the reality is, this footage is some of the most watched Diddy content online today, and it's nowhere in 50 Cent's documentary. Now let's talk about Usher. Because what happened to him with Diddy is one of the most disturbing stories Netflix barely even mentioned.
You see, this is what you should mention beforehand. If you get the timeline right, it's easier to look, oh, there's a pattern. Why wasn't this mentioned? Why wasn't that mentioned? Why wasn't that mentioned? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Let's go.
In the early 1990s, Usher was just 13 years old. His family sent him to live with Diddy for an entire year. It was called Puffy Flavor Camp. The idea was simple. Diddy would mentor him, show him the ropes, and help him become a star.
Wrong. His parents didn't send him there. It was L.A. Reid that, if I remember correctly in the interview, it was L.A. Reid that insinuated, and obviously, yes, his parents did have the authorization to say, you know what I'm saying? But anyway.
But the reality was anything but simple.
Keep D's car,
I moved
if you know, you know.
to
There you go.
New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
Think about it. A 13-year-old living full-time with a grown man who was throwing wild parties, running a label, and living a lifestyle most adults couldn't handle. And it wasn't just mentorship. Usher has called the year wild and crazy, saying he was exposed to things no 13-year-old should ever see.
These are places that a 13-year-old probably should not be.
By the time he was 15, Usher was surrounded by parties, women, drugs, and sexual situations. Daily. Not once or twice, every day for a year. And it wasn't some fun learning experience. It was an adult world that could have derailed him at any moment.
There to see the lifestyle, right? And I saw it. It was pretty wild. There were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand.
When Howard Stern asked him if he would ever send his own children to Puffy Flavor Camp, Usher didn't hesitate. Hell no, he said.
Crazy.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
That answer says everything. He survived it, built a career, won Grammys, and became one of the biggest
And this is the thing.
artists
He
of all
said
time.
that before his introduction to Justin Bieber. So why did you send Justin Bieber to Diddy? And then now, although Justin Bieber doesn't want to say he's a victim, he clearly is living through trauma. And you can see the difference between how he was at 15 and then a couple years later, or even a year later, how different things are. Like, you can see it in his face. You can see it in his, all, like, I don't know how to explain it. You know, when it's like his innocence was taken. That sounds mad to say, but do you know what I'm saying? And I don't know what went down because we don't know unless Justin Bieber wants to disclose it or not. And again, if he does disclose it, that opens up wounds. That opens up more trauma. He has to relive that. And the fact that he is he's a popular figure. When you deep it, he's a very popular figure. So if he has to relive that and the public got to know that information, you don't know how that could drive him crazy. And people may look at him and be like, oh, he looks skinny, blah, blah, blah. He looks like he's on drugs, blah, blah, blah. Well, what do you expect? Do you know what I mean? So just let him be a father. Let him, if he wants to continue doing music, let him continue doing music. Do you know what I mean? Let him be a husband. Like, get me? Other than that, it's mad when you deep everything. It's mad. It's mad. Like, you don't know what someone genuinely goes through, and until you know what they go and not even until you know what they go through, it's like you don't know how one reacts to certain situations, because how you would react could be completely different. So you have to bear that in mind. let people react the way that they're going to react and through the situation that they unfortunately went through or didn't go through or whatever the case. I don't know. But clearly there's something that looked like that happened between, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know something happened between Usher and, but the fact that clip as well where you see with Kevin Hart before, that was a very telling clip. What do you mean used to wake up to, they used to wake up together fighting over cereal? Huh?
But he would never put his own kids in that environment. After Diddy's 2024 arrest, fans noticed something else. Usher allegedly deleted his entire Twitter account. Every post was gone. People wondered, was he distancing himself, scrubbing evidence, or just tired of being asked questions about Diddy? Netflix barely touched this. Maybe a quick flag.
Allegedly, his account got hacked. So you can take that as for what you want to take it for. I don't know.
Of old footage, a throwaway mention at best. Nothing that actually dug into what happened during that year. And that's the problem. Because when you look at Usher, then Justin Bieber, and all the other young stars who crossed paths with Diddy, a pattern starts to appear. One that the documentary chose to ignore. Usher's story shows it clearly. A kid, too young, thrown into an adult world with access to things he shouldn't have had. And Netflix left that story on the cutting room floor. Now let's talk about one of the more unusual.
Finally, Diddy's adopted daughter. Where is she? You know them ways there. Where is she? Now you could argue in regards to why Netflix left it out or why 50 left it out. Again, strategy, isn't it? You don't put all your eggs into one basket. You gotta let. You see the way that Diddy's panicking, shopping for his book to be sold to a publisher, so they can publish his book, so he could tell his side of the story when he had an opportunity to tell his side of the story on trial, but didn't. Anyway, let's go.
Stories connected to Diddy, the situation involving a young girl named Ava Baroni. In 2020, a video appeared online showing Diddy with Ava. In the clip, she calls him Papa Combs. He kisses her on the cheek, and he tells the camera that he adopted her. He also mentioned that he received permission from her mother and compared himself to several celebrities known for adopting children.
Yes, it was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you.
When the video came out, many viewers assumed it was a genuine adoption announcement. It spread widely, and people reacted as though Diddy had officially taken Ava into his family. But soon after, questions began to surface. Where was the paperwork? Why were there no public records? Why did Ava not appear in later family photos or events? Then, in September 2024, TMZ reported that Diddy had not legally adopted Ava Baroni. According to that report, the video was described by people close to the family as a skit. Ava was said to be a close friend of Diddy's twin daughters, and the moment was presented as something playful rather than official. As for Ava's current situation,
okay, if that's the PR they want to put out, then cool. But then now you have to ask this question: if Ava is a friend of the twins, yeah, where's she now? Don't get me wrong. Yes, friends can fall out. Parents could move areas, countries. Do you know what I mean? So they may lose contact. So you never know. But again, TMZ and their reporting, you never know. Do you know what I mean? I'll listen. Ava Baroni, wherever she is, you know, is what it is. Not is what it is, but yeah, it's a bit eerie when you think about these type of situations. Because first of all, why are you kissing another child's cheek? Why are you kissing them on the cheek like that? That ain't your child. Like, if it's your niece, I don't want to say if it's your niece, because even that sounds a bit mad. But like, maybe it's because obviously you see things, you see patterns of behavior in certain individuals. You're like, if you do that, that looks mad. If you do that, that looks mad. If you do that, that looks madder. You get it? But anyway.
Not much is publicly known. She hasn't appeared in recent footage, and there haven't been any public statements from her or her family. Most likely, she is living privately and staying out of the spotlight. Still, the original video continues to raise questions because of how it was presented. Viewers wondered why Diddy framed it as an adoption if no adoption took place, why the moment was shared publicly, and what the intention behind the video actually was. Those questions remain unanswered. And this entire situation, the announcement, the misunderstanding, and the later clarification is not addressed in the Netflix documentary. Perhaps because no legal adoption occurred, it didn't fit the scope of the film, or maybe it was considered too unclear or easily misinterpreted to include. In the end, all these stories, some confirmed, some disputed, and many still unanswered, show just how much remains outside the edges of the documentary, and how complex the full picture truly is.
Hey, yo, there's a lot. Next time, I'm just going to go to the verified sources that I normally go to when it comes to information, yeah? Because that was ridiculous. At least most of it. That was ridiculous. Let's see what else people are saying. Gene Doe, no, I believe Gene Doe didn't make the doc because he wanted to get payment for it. There you go. I'm not defending none of them because all who does this needs to be jailed, but make it make sense. Why the F someone parent would allow the kid to go to an arts bar at 13 years old and a ground growth plus Busby was busted as false claims for shakedowns. Coming up in the 90s, watching Bad Boy Records do their thing. You know MTV, Diddy was all over the industry. I had all the CDs, but you know, this comes with a lifestyle. This is before Diddy with the Rocks of Hollywood. The industry is no happily ever after story from drug money, rock and roll, a story that outdates the industry itself. It's just the same story, different genre. Unfortunately, everyone is in it. You can't, not everyone, man, relax. Gene was in a documentary because of, all right, cool. This is what I'm looking for. The book, all right. Anyway, exactly. It's not Fiddy's documentary. That's the other thing. It's not Diddy's documentary. Yes, he's one of the executive producers, but anyway, let's just get into the last thing we're going to get into just for a small portion. All right. But yeah, let me know what let me know what your thoughts are. Leave it in the comments below. Get me. Yeah, man. Let's go. Exposing Clive Davis, the mastermind behind
for Clive Davis in 1994.
But he got a boss too, and his boss name is Clive Davis. Clive run him. Diddy don't run himself.
Okay, yeah. As soon as I see Jago White, no disrespect, that's when I leave it. That's when I leave it. You know them ways there. I leave it. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notifications and all that stuff there. Got more content coming on the way. But yeah. I appreciate every one of you for watching. You know what I'm saying? Let me just fix this. You know what I'm saying? Hear me. Let's do what I want to do for now. How do I do this again? There you go. Thank you for watching.